In September 2016, the profound power of the WWE Network demonstrated itself when it released Tommy Rich and Buzz Sawyer's famed Last Battle of Atlanta Steel Cage Bloodbath from 1983. For decades, most assumed that the master footage of the match no longer existed, but lo and behold, somebody found the match and complete event on some unlabeled tape in WWE's archives. Shortly thereafter, the match was made available on the WWE Network, sending wrestling nerds everywhere into frothing convulsions. The hidden gem section of the WWE Network has become quite the mind frig for even fans who think they've seen it all, though in fairness, none of us will ever truly see it all. Certain wrestling footage has never been made available for obvious reasons, while other matches and moments have been lost to history due to tapes being destroyed or possibly ravaged by a lack of maintenance over time. The following list will examine the rarest of the rare curiosities that die-hard wrestling connoisseurs have long been fascinated by. A word of caution though, some of the entries ahead will discuss upsetting topics that, frankly, a great number of people will never ever want to see, and it's not hard to understand why. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic.com, and these are 10 pieces of lost wrestling media. Join us! Number 10, Bret Hart versus Tom Magee. Oh, bollocks. Number 10, the Hogan-Bret photo shoot. For years, fans wondered why they never got a proper Hulk Hogan versus Bret Hart singles match. They had a schmoz-tastic bout on Nitro in 1998, as well as some 1999 house show bouts, but nothing monumental. And stranger, nothing on the WWE side of the fence. After Hogan captured the gold at WrestleMania 9, you'd have thought he and the Hitman would have been on a collision course, and it turns out they were. Bret not only recalled the plans, but revealed in his memoirs that in May of that year, he and Hogan took part in a photo shoot with the babyface heroes playing tug of war with the belt. Hogan would have vanquished Yokozuna at King of the Ring, and Bret winning the tournament lined him up as #1 contender. However, an apparent falling out took place, with Hogan dropping the gold in his final WWE TV appearance for 9 years, while Vince decided to try and mold Lex Luger into Hogan version 2. That tug of war photo shoot obviously would never surface. Number 9, beware of dog dark matches. You've seen dark matches before. Some were tryout matches or crowd warm-ups from marathon TV taping sessions. Others include post-Raw matches meant to send the crowd home happy, but what about literal dark matches? On May 26, 1996, at WWE's In Your House Beware of Dog, a torrential thunderstorm knocked out power to the arena as well as the pay-per-view feed. The outage encompassed most of the broadcast, with only 2 of the 5 matches, the Mark Mero Hunter Hearst Helmsley opener and Shawn Michaels vs Davey Boy Smith finale airing in desirable form. The other 3 matches actually took place before the Florence crowd, albeit in relative darkness. An Undertaker Goldust casket match, a Steve Austin Savio Vega strap match, and Vader vs Yokozuna. A low-powered generator provided minimal light, while battery-operated cameras filmed the shadowy matches. These matches didn't air to the home audience, and WWE decided they never could be due to the diminished quality. As a make good, the 3 matches were redone at the Superstars taping 2 nights later and inserted live into the pay-per-view replay. Only brief snippets of the shrouded matches were ever broadcast as part of WWE's explanation of the outage. Number 8, the plane ride from hell photos. If you've never heard of the infamous plane ride from hell, here's a simple summary. The Monday Night Raw crew was flying back to the United States from a UK tour in May of 2002, and the flight played host to some incredible unruliness. Scott Hall and Mr. Perfect were both fired for their degrees of involvement, as too much alcohol and too long a trip created at least a dozen episodes of violence, debauchery, and discomfort all on one single flight. Justin Credible, who was on board that plane but apparently not a participant in any of the craziness, claims that paparazzi took various photos of WWE personnel going through JFK Airport en route to Monday's Raw in Hartford, Connecticut. These photos are alleged to have included Hall being rolled unresponsive through customs in a wheelchair. Credible didn't elaborate much further about what the photos may have captured, but given what we learned in the aftermath about the flight, to date the photos have never surfaced in any form, and it's unknown what became of them. Number 7, WCW's audio-only pay-per-views. Listening to sports on the radio is hardly a novel concept, but the sports entertainment hybrid of pro wrestling, where facial expressiveness adds so much to the spectacle, seems like it would make for a harder crossover. Between June 1997 and July 1998, WCW broadcast through their website 6 different live events from cities like Los Angeles, Angeles, Seattle, and Boston with names like Saturday Nitro and Boston Brawl in audio form only, with Tony Schiavone and others on the call. The matches themselves were apparently not filmed, which would mean two title changes have no official visual representation. Chris Jericho defeating Sean Waltman for the Cruiserweight title in June 1997, and Chris Benoit winning the TV title from Booker T in May 1998. Files of the original audio streams are seemingly non-existent, and it's not clear if WWE, through their purchase of WCW's assets, have them in their possession. Some handheld fan recordings of the matches themselves have surfaced, namely from the June 1997 show in LA, but little else. Number 6. Strange Kentucky People. Chris Jericho's first set of memoirs, entitled A Lion's Tale, called attention to a rather notable piece of video that is now a YouTube classic. An irate Jim Cornette reaming out some Dairy Queen employees late one night in 1994 after he and a group of Smoky Mountain personnel, Jericho included, waited a long time for their meal. If you enjoy not safe for work audio as well as Corny's articulate rage, that video is a gem. But that's not the only home movie Jericho's book made reference to. Around the same time in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, Jericho was given a video by a female fan that he was told had all of his Smoky Mountain matches on it. In actuality, the tape contained said woman and her apparently demented family, based on how Jericho described it, doing a wacky, uncoordinated group dance while proclaiming their undying love for Jericho and partner Lance Storm, among other semi-disturbing activities and imagery. Jericho claims the video made the tape trading rounds, so it could still be out there somewhere. Come on, WWE Hidden Gems Department, get on this. Number 5. Darren DROSDOV'S accident. There are two videos that are reportedly red-labeled in WWE's film vault, with instructions that are never to be watched, duplicated, or destroyed, presumably for legal reasons. One we'll get to later, and it shouldn't be hard to figure out what that may be. The other occurred at a SmackDown taping in October 1999, and resulted in the end of the career of Droz. The heavyweight wrestler was working with European champion D'Lo Brown at the taping when something went horribly wrong when Brown attempted his running sit-out powerbomb. As stories have indicated, Brown didn't gain a solid grip, and Droz didn't jump properly for the move, and as a result, Droz came down on his head, fracturing two vertebrae. The accident, which Droz has never once blamed D'Lo for, left him paralysed. The match never aired due to SmackDown's tape nature, and the only footage that has ever made airwaves is that of Droz strapped to a gurney, which appeared in the Don't Try This PSAs throughout the 2000s. Number 4. Global Force Master Tapes. As of this recording in the summer of 2019, the story of this entry is subject to ongoing legal action between Jeff Jarrett and Anthem Sports. Jarrett founded Global Force Wrestling in 2014, and in the summer of the following year, commenced TV tapings for a show called Amped. 16 episodes were recorded and have never aired in complete form, although some footage has made it onto various Impact Wrestling specials. Impact and GFW worked together for much of 2017 before Anthem terminated its business relationship with Jarrett, eventually leading to a pair of lawsuits, first for copyright infringement and second over the master tapes of those Amped episodes. Reportedly, Anthem deleted the episodes off of those tapes for space purposes, and thus the episodes no longer exist. This means matches featuring the likes of Bobby Roode, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, Mickie James, Kushida, Shelton Benjamin, and others are no more. Number 3. The alternative Bret Hart documentary. At one time, the idea of WWE and the Hitman mending fences seemed like a pipe dream. Too Much Bad Blood from 1997 left a roaring divide between the two sides, and Hart appeared to have little interest in putting the injustice behind him. That changed in 2005 when he and WWE collaborated on a DVD retrospective that put some of Bret's all-time greatest matches into one incredible 3-disc set, complete with compelling documentary. But what hit the shelves was actually Plan B. Plan A on WWE's part was to piece together a product called Screwed, the Bret Hart story, which would have been in the vein of the self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior, with the likes of Hulk Hogan, Shawn Michaels, Jerry Lawler, and others putting a negative spin on Hart's legacy. Bret agreed to do the project in order to ensure that his career received more dignified treatment, later saying that WWE told him, "Get on board or we'll run you over." Number 2. The ECW fire incident. Sources differ as to whether or not the footage of the incident was actually destroyed, but it's never surfaced in the 23 years since it took place, and given what happened, it sounds like a safe bet that the footage is buried deeper than your favourite underpushed wrestler. The date was October 28, 1995, and on what was a typical night at the ECW arena in South Philly, Tommy Dreamer had just beaten Cactus Jack in the main event. A further skirmish ensued between the two men and their respective allies, guys Terry Funk and Raven. During the wild brawl, Foley produced a chair which had a towel wrapped around it which had been set ablaze. Amid the confusion, Funk was badly burned, the towel apparently flung from the chair and toward the crowd, where at least one fan ended up scalded from the errant flame. To make matters worse, the lights were killed to set up the next part of the angle, while panicked fans stampeded in the darkness to try to get away from the fire as extinguishers were sprayed in the direction of the blaze. Thankfully, nothing catastrophic happened, and Funk, after raising hell backstage at Mick Foley, mended fences with him the next day. Number 1. The death of Owen Hart. 20 years have passed since one of the most devastatingly tragic moments in wrestling history took place. Most already know the story. Hart, costumed as his blue blazer alter ego, was set to make an entrance from the ceiling of Kansas City's Kemper Arena at WWF's Over the Edge 1999 when his suspension cable disengaged from his harness, causing him to fall over 70 feet to his death. Fortunately, the accident was not shown on the pay-per-view, as the broadcast was in a pre-taped vignette at the time. Like the Droz video, the footage of Owen's death, which cameras did pick up, just not on any live feed, is secured in a vault with the same explicit instructions to never view, duplicate, or destroy. The only sort of media that exists of the accident, aside from photographs that show Hart being tended to in the aftermath, includes Spanish commentary audio that was likely picked up via satellite feed, in which Carlos and Hugo react to the incident in real time. Over the Edge has been released both in physical form and as a WWE Network selection, with all mentions of Owen and the accident scrubbed.
Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. You can follow us on Twitter at Cultaholic. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. If you enjoy what we do here at Cultaholic, you can pledge to us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Cultaholic. And most importantly, don't forget to hit subscribe and join us.